I mean, you're going to want to get used to these because there's going to be quite a few of them over the next couple days. It is the first, but most certainly not the last University Senior Bowl special hotel room stream. And I know I'm in a hotel room. I am not in Mobile yet. I wasn't supposed to be in Mobile until Wednesday night. However, for those of you who are not in the know, I happen to live in Missouri, and there is the snowstorm to end all snowstorms, Winter Storm Landon, I believe, heading our way. So I'm going to be out bright and early tomorrow because it's all about the U, and if I don't get out tomorrow morning, I'm not getting out at all. But anyway, I'm Zach Berman. This is uNIVERSITY. This is the first ever uSTADIUM live Senior Bowl spectacular. We haven't come up with a name for it yet, but of course, the game is on Saturday, but that's not even the most important part of the whole week. It's the practices, it's the progressions, it's all the gossip that comes out of these games. How many times do you hear, oh, so-and-so had a meeting with so-and-so at the Senior Bowl and then drafted him after? It happens so many times. If you're a Giants fan like myself, Joe Shane, your new GM, he's going to be down in Mobile. I don't know how many coaches are going to be down there yet. I'm sure there's going to be more than enough. There are 900 credentialed media members on their way to Mobile. I am one of them. Quiz Miners. Come on, Ryan. Well, I was a big Quinn Miners fan last year, but today's episode, of course, the big discussion with the Senior Bowl today was measurements and rankings. And truth be told, I don't think that many people really put that much stock in it. The one thing that happens to be the big discussion, the talk of the town regarding measurements, are the hands, or specifically the hand size of one Kenny Pickett, of course, the Pittsburgh quarterback, likely the top quarterback prospect in the draft. He has the smallest hands according to most estimates out of this quarterback class, and he actually did not get his hands measured during the measuring section of the Senior Bowl. He claimed it's because he's double jointed and it wasn't going to give an accurate assessment. I don't know how much truth there is to that. I mean, it's a good excuse, so let's not kid ourselves here. But I think the small hands for a quarterback thing is a load of crap. You know who else is the smallest hands in his draft class? Joe Burrow. He's on his way to the Super Bowl. I mean, I also didn't think I was going to be saying that Joe Burrow was going to be going to the Super Bowl 2 years into his career, but what do I know? Clearly not that much. But tonight, we're going to talk about some guys that I have on my list of players to watch. Now, quarterbacks, of course, this is a pretty intriguing quarterback class in terms of who's going to be showing up. You've Kenny Pickett out of Pitt, Des Ridder out of Cincinnati, Carson Strong out of Nevada, Malik Willis out of Liberty, Sam Howell out of North Carolina, and the guy that I like to watch is Bailey Zappe out of Western Kentucky. Yes, we're going to be talking about not the guys you've known, not the guys you've heard about, maybe some guys that have flown under the radar a little bit, that like your Quinn Miners, those types of guys. Bailey Zappe out of Western Kentucky, one of the few quarterbacks that threw for as many yards as he did. He led the nation in passing yards, FBS. I don't love his ball velocity and his arm strength. A little bit of a concern, something to watch over the next couple days. I would love to see what he does on the deep ball. He led the NCAA in passing efficiency, but a lot of those were short, medium-sized throws. Think your Tua Tagovailoa check downs, your quick outs, and he had a good receiving core that helped a lot with that. I'm not sure how that's going to translate to the pro game. He's going to get drafted at some point. I don't know if he's anything more than a career backup, but I'd love to see what he can pull off. Last year's Quinn Miners is this year's Trevor Penning, tackle out of Northern Iowa. I mean, he completely dominated his competition. Of course, he was playing in the FCS, but how is he going to compare against what is a pretty good, if not spectacular, outside linebacker edge class that's going down to Mobile this year? Of course, the three big names out of the edge rusher class, which would be George Karlaftis, Aiden Hutchinson, and Kayvon Thibodeau, they will not be in Mobile. None of them are seniors. So how is Trevor Penning going to compete against some of those edge rushers, including a guy that I love, Cam Thomas out of San Diego State, 6'5", 270. He's played all over the place. He's played DT. He's played end. And if he turns heads in Mobile, which I think he will, I love his physicality in his game. Mel Kiper has him potentially moving into the top 20. Right now, Scouts Inc. has him at 43. But I think he's got the versatility to climb into maybe a back half of the first round kind of prospect. I really love just the tenacity that he plays with. And I would have loved to see Thomas and Penning match up one-on-one. Mel Kiper has Trevor Penning at 25 in his mock. Penning is huge. 6'7", 321. He's a ginormous figure. It's just a matter of the competition he was competing against in college. Another tackle that I love, and this is a name I'm sure a lot of you have heard over the past couple days because he's really starting to get the love, not just from me, but from most of the national media. That would be Bernard Raymond out of Central Michigan. It's one of those years where I think there's going to be quite a few of those non-Power 5 offensive linemen that really wind up making their way into the rankings. Raymond, he's super talented. He's got first round pedigree written all over him. I really like what he shows. Great player. And there is a lot of FCS guys making it out there. Cole Strange out of Chattanooga. Matt Waletzko out of North Dakota. Nick Zakej, man, that's a name, out of Fordham, and Braxton Jones out of Southern Utah. Late invite from Jatire Carter out of Southern University. Also in there, the quarterbacks, I'll get into that in a bit. Tight ends. Of course, you ask Nick, who does he love? He loves Trey McBride out of Colorado State, but everybody's been talking about Trey McBride. One of the better tight ends we've seen come out. A traditional tight end, not a Kyle Pitts guy that stretches the field, a guy that blocks, a guy that catches, a guy that's great in the red zone. But I happen to like another guy, not Trey McBride. I do like Trey McBride. Don't get me wrong. I also like Jalen Weidermeyer. He will also be down in Mobile. But my guy that's someone to watch out for in this Senior Bowl class happens to be Isaiah Likely out of Coastal Carolina. He ranks second in receiving yards per game and touchdown catches for FBS tight ends. And he is a really, really good rack guy. Good run after the catch. He's smart, and he's got great hands. He's going to get drafted in the second or third round. I love Likely's play. Once again, the question becomes competition. Who has he played against? Coastal Carolina, they played BYU and KU. I mean, Kansas is the only major Power 5 team they played, and Kansas is probably the furthest thing from a major Power 5 school. It's a matter of competition. That's really what the Senior Bowl is. That's how you find these guys that maybe haven't played against the best competition. And that is a segue into someone that has played the best competition, someone that led the SEC in rushing yards this past year, someone who I have had the pleasure and joy to watch in person, someone that his game reminds me a lot of Alvin Kamara, both in how he is impossible to bring down at the first tackle attempt. He's good behind the line of scrimmage. He's good up the middle. He's good in the outside, and he's a great passing receiver, someone who I think his skill would translate great to the NFL level. His offensive line held him back. I'll give him a lot of love over the next couple of days, but that would be Tyler Badie out of the University of Missouri. He's my sleeper running back to rise up the ranks. And if you watch him play, he's got that downfield ability. He's good north to south. He's good east to west. He's really got a good sense of direction, and he's elusive. He's not the biggest guy. He's 5'7", 200 pounds on the dot, but it's the way he uses that frame that I think really helped him out at the SEC level. I think it will translate well to the pros. Look for him to be a 5th or 6th round pick going into the draft. Maybe what he could do in Mobile could potentially raise that up a little bit. Another guy that I really like that's a sleeper at defensive tackle Travis Jones out of the University of Connecticut. He showed up against Clemson, and that was a game where UConn got absolutely smushed. I mean, they're UConn. They're not great, but I like what Jones brings in terms of size. His technique is very good. 6'3", 330 pounds, right up the middle of that defensive line in Connecticut. He can rush the passer too. I have him slotted as a 4th, 5th round guy. He could potentially slide up those rankings. I really like his game and I also happen to like Dominique Robinson's game, or Dominique Robinson, out of Miami of Ohio. Listen to this story. Former receiver. He's played 15 games on defense, 6th on his team in tackles for loss, but he's caught the attention of the guys on tape. People say he could be a day 2 pick. I don't have him as a day 2 pick right now. That could change. That could absolutely change. That's what the Senior Bowl is for. You see these guys show up against good competition, that turns heads. Speaking of turning heads, a receiver that I have potentially climbing into day 2 is someone that I really did show a lot of love towards during university over the course of the season. That would be Khalil Shakir out of Boise State. And I know Splash is pumping his fist right now. Yeah, he's picking one of my Broncos. Yes, I am, Splash. Really good contested catch guy. He's not huge, but he's a great route runner. Almost gives me a bit of a Keenan Allen vibe. He's just a smooth, smart receiver that knows how to use his frame well-rounded. That's how I would describe Khalil Shakir. The best receiver that is showing up at this Senior Bowl, of course, Jahan Dotson out of Penn State. His game almost reminds me a little bit of Odell Beckham Jr.'s. He's got the one-handed catches down. If you watch any Penn State game in the last few seasons, Kyle Clifford, I'm not the biggest Kyle Clifford fan. Jahan Dotson's far and away the best receiver that's going to be down there. He's got the hands, he's got the speed, he can run routes, and he is not the fastest guy in terms of, a 40 time, but I'm talking more about game speed. Once again, I look back at Odell Beckham. He's the kind of guy that he's not going to burn you when he's running that 40 in, say, Indianapolis, but Jahan Dotson's a guy that could take a 10-yard slant and then boom, gone. Trevor Penning, I really do like him. I've gone on and on and on about Trevor Penning. Which quarterback do I think is going to really surprise? I think Carson Strong, who had a lot of talk going into this season, didn't have the best year that I'm sure he was looking for in terms of putting up stats. When you went into the start of the season, his name was all over mock drafts in the first round. I think Carson Strong has the physical potential to be a great NFL player. And you look back at the Bills-Chiefs game. I know neither of those quarterbacks are going to the Super Bowl, but the future of the NFL are these big, strong-armed, athletic quarterbacks. Your Burrows, your Malik Willis. Yep, there you go from Nick. Your Joe Burrow, he's a little bit different. Joe Burrow almost reminds me of an Eli Manning in terms of his tenacity. Joe Burrow's got the strong arm, but I'm looking at these Justin Herberts, these Patrick Mahomes types, these Josh Allens. Malik Willis and Carson Strong are your 2 rocket arm types. I like both of them. Willis, truth be told, he didn't impress me that much this year. I would like to see, then again, Willis played against some better competition than Strong. Willis played against Ole Miss. He didn't impress me that much in that game. That was Matt Corral's game to shine. Can Carson Strong be the guy, and can he be strong, pun very much intended, over the next couple days? Now, my biggest take, and this was not that hot over the start of the year. People looked at me like, what are you talking about? And now it seems to be the talk of the town. I have a 3rd or 4th round grade on Sam Howell. And I can hear you guys saying it right now. Oh my God, Sam Howell reminds me of that. No. You look at the team he had last year at North Carolina. De'Ami Brown, Daz Newsome, Michael Carter. My gosh, I'm blanking on his name. The Denver running back, Javonte Williams. He loses a lot of that, and he wasn't able to carry UNC this week. I did not like this whole season. I did not like what I saw out of Sam Howell this season. I know it might be the UNC thing, but he gives me some really, really strong Mitchell Trubisky type of vibes. And I fear that a team that is desperate for a quarterback is going to see what a lot of people saw in him coming into this year. And yes, he does have the traits. And could I be wrong on this? Absolutely, I could be wrong. I could go on and on and on over the years on quarterbacks that I think. Oh, Nick, thank you so much. There are so many quarterbacks that I have gotten wrong. And there are going to be a lot of people over the next couple months leading up to the combine and the draft that are going to tell you that, you never hear Mel Kiper say, oh, I was wrong about so-and-so, or you never hear Todd McShay or Daniel Jeremiah or any of them. I will tell you right now that I thought that Justin Herbert was Mitch Trubisky 2.0. I will tell you right now that I thought that Dwayne Haskins was going to be phenomenal. I will tell you right now that I was pretty right on Josh Allen. I was right on Patrick Mahomes. But I am not afraid to admit that I have gotten plenty of guys wrong. Could Sam Howell surprise me? Absolutely. Do I think he will? No, I don't. Now, Kenny Pickett, he's interesting because I like my favorite aspect of Kenny Pickett's game, and a lot of people see the personality and they see his precision and they think Justin Herbert. And I don't see that. I see Kenny Pickett as I think he's going to be a good NFL quarterback. I will say that right now. I don't think he has the potential to be amazing. I think if you have one guy that's really going to be the guy, I can see it being Strong. I can see it being Willis. Kenny Pickett, I think his ceiling is like a Matt Ryan. Kenny Pickett's best aspect of his game, I think he is the most mentally mature guy in the class. I think he's really smart. I think he's really cerebral in how he plays the quarterback position. He doesn't make dumb mistakes, and that says a lot. I think he is a really, really good locker room guy. Derek Carr, I definitely see that. Kenny Pickett is going to be a good NFL quarterback. Can he be a great NFL quarterback? I'm not sure. The small hands thing, that's a load of baloney. I will never believe that. Des Ridder, I don't know. I don't know about Des Ridder because I like his physical traits, but he almost felt like a Jimmy Garoppolo this year where every game he had that oh snap kind of moment for Cincinnati. And Cincinnati was a very good team. Of course, the first non-Power 5 team to ever make the playoff. But still, Des Ridder did not really give me these, oh my goodness. Like, I went into this season thinking that Desmond Ridder could be my QB2. And right now I have him behind Pickett, behind Willis, behind Strong. He's my QB4. Sam Howell is my QB5 in this draft. Ridder is QB4. Howell is my QB5. I got Zappe as a QB6. I just don't think Sam Howell is all that. And there's obviously teams that are going to be QB desperate this year, which you never know. There's always that one class where you're like, they're not that good. And then next thing you know, so-and-so turns out to be great. So-and-so turns out to be Patrick Mahomes. You don't know. But you look at this class and then you look at next year with Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, and I don't know how you can force a quarterback pick this year. With these quarterbacks, who do I like in terms of who do I think fits well where? My big argument was Carson Strong felt like a New Orleans Saint because I thought that Sean Payton could work wizardry with him. Not the case. Not the case at all. I'm going to go bold because actually, you know what? I'm going to start easy. My quarterback predictions right now, Kenny Pickett is going to continue playing football in the city of Pittsburgh. I think Kenny Pickett screams Ben Roethlisberger's replacement. I think they're going to maybe find a stopgap guy, a Mitch Trubisky, Ryan Fitzpatrick, somebody that can just game manage while Pickett learns the NFL game. I think Mike Tomlin is a great mentor to have in terms of this position. I think Pickett will stay playing football at Heinz Field. I think he's a Steeler. Sam Howell, someone is going to pick him way too high. My fear is Detroit, but something tells me Detroit's a little bit past that. And Dan Campbell, of course, his coaching staff is going to be out in Mobile. You are going to see maybe Detroit, but something tells me Detroit is past this. I think Detroit's a little bit different. If you want me to get really bold, I think the New York Giants take a Carson Strong or Malik Willis in the second round. You look at what Brian Dable has done with Josh Allen, and I think he takes a risk on a strong-armed, rocket arm, elite athleticism, maybe a bit raw quarterback as a fail-safe for maybe if Daniel Jones does not pan out. I don't think the Giants take a QB round 1. I think round 1 is edge and offensive line. But look out for a Carson Strong. Look out for a Malik Willis. Hell, look out for a Desmond Ridder. If you're a Giants fan, don't be surprised. And if you are, I told you so first. Man, who do I see taking Howell? This is going to bother me. Lions do have that Rams pick. I keep on thinking back to that. That's a spot for a Lions take a QB. But at the same time, I don't know if the Lions are going to be good enough to the point where they're going to Detroit should be bad enough to take a quarterback in 2023 early. And I'm willing to trust Dan Campbell's vision of the team. It's tough to grade wideouts because a lot of these wideouts are not going to be at the Senior Bowl. This is a bit of a rarity where you don't have that many of these like super elite players in the draft. You don't have these great edge rushers, your Thibodeaux, your Hutchinsons. They're not coming to this game. Like, oh, David Bell comp. Man, Allen Robinson fits just that's what I get right off the bat. Good route runner, good hands. Someone that, once again, won't kill you with speed, but he's fast enough to the point where it can be a bit of a game breaker. I like David Bell quite a bit. And this is a tough receiver. Oh boy, Howell with the Panthers. I mean, I think Matt Rule is a bozo. So, yeah, I could see that with Ben McAdoo. Ugh. If anybody takes Sam Howell in the first round, that's a fireable offense by any GM. I don't see it, man. Like he almost reminds me of like a Mitch Trubisky, a Jake Fromm, someone that benefited because of the people around him as opposed to someone that really made his own success. It's a fireable offense to take. And if I look at a mock draft right now, let's see who put out the mock draft. I'm scared to see where they have Sam Howell going. Well, the one quarterback that we haven't talked about because he's not a senior, and I love the fit, mark this down right now. Matt Corral is going to be a member of the Washington football team or whatever they're called. I've heard Commanders. We don't know for sure yet. I think Corral to Washington. There's something about it that it feels right. But I can get more into draft stuff right now because it's tough to speculate. We still don't know what these guys are looking like Splash will have an episode of Mock Draft Monday later. It's tough to speculate. I'm not going to do a mock draft that Splashes thing, but it's really tough to speculate when we haven't seen these guys out in the turf at Mobile yet. But if you really want me to give you my full analysis on who I think is going to be really good, right off the bat, PFF has the Jets taking Derek Stingley 4th overall. That would be the biggest possible mistake. That is Jeff Okudah all over again. I like Stingley as a player when he's healthy. He's never healthy. If you're going to take any player in the secondary early, Kyle Hamilton, yes. Sauce Gardner, I have him 10 to 15 range. Sauce Gardner is really, really good. I think he's my CB1. My wide receiver one right now is probably Drake London, but Garrett Wilson's climbing up there. I love Chris Olave. Chris Olave, Mr. Smooth Operator. When you think smooth, great, consistent, I think Keenan Allen. There's so much of Keenan Allen in Chris Olave's game. But then again, all these receivers are great, except one thing. You look at next year's class, and Jackson Smith-Njigba is looming over there. And Smith-Njigba, he is a Jamar Chase level prospect. He's a guy that doesn't come around very often. I love Nakobe Dean. And I was not that high on him at the start of the year. You watch there is not a better player in college football in terms of a single game tape this year. You go back and you watch Nakobe Dean's tape during the Michigan semifinal. What he did to blow that game up, that might be the single best tape I have seen in college football in years. If you are in the need of a linebacker, a guy that can go side to side, a Jonathan Vilma-esque sort of do it all. Oh man, this guy is just all over the place. Ashton Davis versus Herbert. Yeah, maybe. I mean, when I think of good draft tapes, what do you think back to? I think of Devontae Smith versus LSU last year, Jackson Jigba versus. I think of Jackson Smith and Jigba versus Utah. I think of Aiden Hutchinson against Ohio State. He was incredible in that game. But, recently I rewatched the Georgia versus LSU SEC championship game. And after watching what Joe Burrow did Hutchinson had like 15 pressures against Ohio State. He was ridiculous. But you rewatched a lot of that Burrow tape, and let me tell you, there's not a single quarterback like that in this year's class. And I get it. Taking a QB is always a risk because you have that scenario where, hey, you take a risk on a guy, but for every Patrick Mahomes, there's 5 or 6 guys that wind up like Daniel Jones. And this class is a huge risk. And I mean, it all just loops back to quarterback. I think one of these quarterbacks, I couldn't tell you who, one of them is going to be really freaking good because that's usually how it works out. It's not always like I don't know. Yeah, it's not always like one of those classes where everyone turns out to be EJ Manuel or Paxton Lynch. It's not one of those classes. There's going to be one guy that turns out incredibly well. I just don't know who that's going to be, and it's not going to be Sam Howell. All right, quick. I'll give you a couple more prospects because I got a 6 a.m. flight tomorrow morning. Are all these wide receivers all great or just really good? Okay. I think 3 of them are great. And my wide receivers 1, 2, and 3. And this is a sneaky good, but also very deep class. And the guy I like to watch is Dotson because he's the only one at the Senior Bowl. He is going to have a chance. This is his stage because nobody else in Mobile is remotely close to his talent level. But my 1 is London. My 2 is Garrett Wilson. And my 3, and he is a guy that I have been all over. If Treylon Burks had a quarterback at Arkansas and he played in a good offensive system, the dude would be putting up ridiculous numbers. You could see it in his physical and how he plays. Almost reminds me of a better, more complete version of Dez Bryant. That's what I see in Treylon Burks. And he's someone that I expect to be climbing up that ladder. I think he'll show out at the combine, but there's a day and a place for that combine show. And I mean, I hope I wind up in Indianapolis for it. But the last thing I will say, tight end class is historically good. McBride's going to have that chance. Isaiah Likely is going to show up. Jeremy Rucker, Charlie Kohler out of Iowa State, who everyone had as their TE1 coming into this year. He's still got the chance. It is a historically good and historically deep tight end class. Of course, Weidermeyer is not a senior. He won't be there. He's really good as well. But last but not least, before I hang up, because you boys got to get some shut-eye, the one player I will make sure to watch out for, and I think we get a chance where there will be not 1, but 2 punters drafted in the 7th round of this year's class. One of them will be in Mobile. That's Jake Camarda, who punted for Georgia this year. He's fantastic. Watch out for the punters, but of course, I must end with punt god Matt Ariza out of San Diego State, possibly the greatest college punter of all time. you'll see him in the combine, that's for sure. And you'll definitely see him in the NFL. But until then, you're going to hear more from me tomorrow. Make sure, download the app, subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Twitter. There's going to be a lot coming in the next couple days. Tomorrow, it is going to be a whole lot of traveling. How do you pronounce it? Daniel Fowle? I think that's how you pronounce it. It is just such a damn shame that within the last 2 months or so, I found out that I was allergic to peanuts, and the Senior Bowl sponsored by Reese's. So that's a bit of a killer because Reese's were my kryptonite, and now they might literally be my kryptonite. So note to self, if anybody wants to put me in harm's way, the trick to that is peanut butter, because I like it, and it also has the potential to hurt me. Until then, I will see you tomorrow I'm going to be in New Orleans tomorrow night. I will be bright and early in Mobile Wednesday morning, and I will have all the deets from practices. And then, of course, the best part about the Senior Bowl, what happens after the practices. So until then, hasta la vista. I will see you all from the Deep South. So until then, have a good night. I couldn't think of a better conclusion. I'm tired, and I got to get up at 3 a.m. Let's go. I'll see you all from Mobile.